Hello everyone. Today we will be learning how to set up and use the Trimble TX8 laser scanner. First things first, you're going to want to grab your tripod and get it ready for setup. You can do this by extending the legs to your chin or operator's chin. To open these legs, you're going to want to unscrew slightly the coupler holding the leg and pull the leg upwards. You will then want to tighten the coupler again. Once setting up your tripod, you want to make sure it is as level as possible, especially if this is your first or main scan that you will be basing your stuff off of. Using the provided level, place the level on top of your tripod, and using two legs only, make sure to leave the third leg still and use it as a pivot. Using the two legs, you can adjust your height accordingly by either pushing your legs in or out, and worst case scenario, adjusting each leg height wise individually by unscrewing and screwing the coupler. Once your tripod is ready, you're ready to pull out the TX8 and mount it. The TX8 fits very tightly in its case, so you may need a little bit of force to pull it out. Be very careful not to touch the lens. The TX8 is a relatively heavy instrument, so if you need assistance, have someone help you lift this and place it onto the tripod. Once placed on the tripod, make sure to screw it in using the provided tripod threaded screw. Make sure that the threads are actually going into the TX8 base and not just spinning around. Once you are screwed in, you are now ready to do a rough level on your machine. Using the same technique as before, you want to use two legs while leaving the third leg as a pivot point to roughly adjust your level bubble. The closer you get this bubble to the center, the easier it'll be to do the next adjustment. Once you are happy with your rough level, you're going to use the knobs on the TX8 base to fine-tune your level. Same concept as the tripod, you want to move two of these knobs while leaving the third as a final adjustment. Most of the time, you will never need to touch the third knob. You are now ready to insert the provided USB and battery and start up your TX8. Make sure to keep this USB secure at all times. You cannot use any USB. It needs to have a specific upload and download speed in order to properly work with the Trimble TX8. You're going to want to insert the USB with the HyperX logo facing the right side of the TX8 as shown here. Inserting the USB first before the battery will prove to be easier considering there's limited amount of space. If you push down on the button labeled push, you can see where the current level of the battery is. Depending on how many scans you're doing, we recommend always having 75 to 100% battery. If you plan on scanning for multiple hours, plan to have multiple batteries with you fully charged. Take a look at the tabs shown and make sure that the female portion of the tab located on the battery is in the right position. The easiest way to do this is make sure that the battery labels are facing the USB. Once the battery and USB are inserted, you can now tap the on button located on the top of the inbuilt screen on the TX8. Once your TX8 is fully booted up, the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you're in the correct project or create your own project. By default, the TX8 will open up to the most recent project on the USB. On the top left portion of the project menu, you will see a button that says Create Project. Here you can change your project name to whatever you prefer, as well as operator name. Once you are happy with your new project, press Save, and this will start a new project. The next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that your device is properly level using the built-in level on screen. You will press the leveling tab and you will see now a digital bubble level. Same concept as before, using just 2 knobs. Try to get this as center as possible. It's good practice to rotate the TX8 and watch how that bubble changes in order to make sure your TX8 will be level throughout its rotation. Once you are done, hit the back arrow to go back to the main menu. The next step is calculating your instrument height. You can find this under the Scan Parameters menu. We'll go through these later in detail, but for now, you're going to want to scroll to the bottom of this menu until you find your height entry. Using the provided tape measure and the notch located under the screen, you're going to want to place the tip of your measuring tape on that notch and measure to the ground as straight or perpendicular as you can. Once you get your measurement, go ahead and input it to the instrument height menu. Once you are done and hit OK, it'll calculate its proper height based on that notch offset. You are now ready to change your scan parameters. In the same Scan Parameters menu, you can now go through and adjust whatever settings necessary. The first setting, Mode, will let you choose the level of scan. Preview will be the fastest scanning. Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 will give you more dense and detailed scans, as well as increase the time required to actually complete these scans. Level 1 and Preview give you more than enough detail to recreate a really dense point cloud. Level 2 and Level 3 are more for specific uses, maybe smaller, more detailed objects that need proper measurements. In practice, Preview and Level 1 work just fine to create extremely detailed and dense point clouds. Keep in mind, the higher this level, the bigger your file will be as well. The next menu is Color Acquisition. This will allow the TX8 to take pictures prior to scanning in order to color match your point clouds. This does take extra time in the beginning of the scan, but no more than a minute or two. You have the option to turn it off, standard color acquisition, or HDR. Fixed exposure is something you're going to want to ignore for the time being, as this requires some base knowledge behind cameras to get working properly. The Precision tab allows you to do 1 standard pass or 4 passes. This means the TX8 will scan either 1 time or repeat the scan 4 times. In practice, 1 pass is more than enough to get the detail you need. If there is a lot of occlusion, maybe moving objects or people, and you want to make sure you get a scan properly with nothing in the way, 4 passes may do the trick. Keep in mind that is 4 full spins of the TX8, so pretty much whatever time your scan needs, times 4. The Atmospheric Correction tab is where you're going to input your ambient temperature. This isn't as important, but if you want the most accurate scan possible, you're going to want to input this as close to the ambient temperature as possible. Once you input your ambient temperature, the rest will be calculated for you. If you have followed these steps correctly, you are now ready to begin scanning. Go ahead back to the home screen and press the scan button when you are ready. The TX8 will now begin scanning. If you have selected your color acquisition, it'll do this first. Keep in mind not to look directly into the spinning lens when the TX8 is operating. Depending on what level scan you've selected, after a few minutes, your scan will be done. Your scan will automatically be saved to the project folder you have created or selected in the beginning of your setup. You'll also get a preview of your scan immediately when your scan is finished saving. You can scroll through this preview as well as zoom in, zoom out, and rescan specific areas as well. You now know how to use the TX8. From here, you can either continue scanning or export this scan into Trimble RealWorks and work with your point cloud. When you're finished scanning, press the power button to shut off the TX8. remove the battery as well as the USB and place in the respective location inside the TX8 case. When placing the TX8 back in its case, be very careful not to touch the lens. Thank you for watching.